Now it's time to go on to our next speaker. He's speaking from the Philippines. His name is RODNE GALICHA. RODNE, oh, I have his presentation here. He is the Executive Director of Living Laudato Si Philippines. That is a faith-based organization advocating for divestment from fossil fuels and other ecologically destructive activities and sustainable development, and works with the Philippine Church to promote integral ecology. He is a faculty member at Don Bosco School of Theology for its Laudato Si Certified Environmental Trainer Program. And he's also the Executive Director of Bye Bye Sibuyanon Incorporate, a local community organization aiming to conserve, protect, rehabilitate, and revive ecological balance and culture of the Sibuyan Island and the Diocese of Romblon in the Philippines. Thank you very much, RODNE, for being with us, and we look forward to listening to your presentation.
Thank you. And am I audible? Yes? Thank you. Good evening from the Philippines, and I'll be sharing experiences from the ground and the experiences of the Philippine Church. We all know that the Philippine Church, through different documents, has been promoting integral ecology for 38 years already. In 1988, the first formal proclamation of the Philippine bishops as what is happening to our beautiful land. And from then on, 1998 to 2013, it has been a consistent, there has been a consistent statements of the Philippine bishops and the Catholic Church in the Philippines about protecting our common home. But I think, as Dr. Lauren Gould shared earlier ago, it was so memorable to us, saddening that in 2013, one of the biggest typhoons hit the country, our Philippines. And we saw how churches opened their doors to the people and the faith of the people of the communities. We saw how they go to God and prayed and the consolation. But we all know that faith without action is dead. We know that the Philippines, the contribution to global greenhouse gas emission is less than 1%. That's 0.5% to 1%. Very, very less. But we suffered a lot. And in Laudato Deum, Pope Francis said that the reality is that a low, richer percentage of the planet contaminates more than the poorest 50% of the total world population, and that per capita emissions of the richer countries are much greater than those of the poor ones. This is what happened in the Philippines. 14 million people affected, 1.1 million houses destroyed, 33 million coconut trees, whereas coconut is the tree of life. 2.3 million people pushed into poverty, and about $13 billion damages. Estimate the cost of damage. 2015, Pope Francis came to the Philippines. He had no words but to say, we have a Lord who cries with us and walks with us in the most difficult moments of life. On May 24, 2015, Laudato Si was given to the world. And in paragraph 41 is the reflection of the 1988 pastoral letter of the Philippine bishops, derived from the very words of the Philippine bishops. And this is what's happening in our common home today: inequity, ecological death, as Pope Francis would say in Laudato Si 51. In 2015, before the Paris Agreement was adopted, the Philippine bishops again released a statement: stewards, not owners. I'll tell to you our story. my story, our community story. I come from an island in the middle of the Philippines. If you have a map, fold it twice horizontally and vertically. Right in the middle is the Diocese of Romblon, and this one is the island called Sibuyan. That's me doing a jump shot, but at the end, I got injured because it was not a jump shot, but it was jumping over a small cliff. But our life is very comfortable because of the nature of creation that we have. And this is our story. Sibuyan Island in the province of Romblon. This is nowhere else. The island, remember the number two, first because we have a national park as core zone of the island. And number two, because our coastal areas are protected as well. We have a mangrove swamp forest reserve. So there are two protected areas. We live in between two protected areas. And we're always saying, oh, we need to protect the protected areas, but the protected areas themselves protect the communities. And this is where I live. It's a very small island at the tip of Sibuyan Island. This is Cresta de Gal, Burden. Full blue sea, not polluted. And this is the core, our island. And the protected area is just right there. So I live there, our community. This is a gift to us, God's creation. It's a 445 square kilometer island. Almost 60% of the island is forest. In every hectare, we have 1,551 trees. That's per hectare. And out of those 1,551 trees, we have 223 species of trees. And out of those 223 species, 54 are endemic either in the island or in the Philippines. The mountains, we have 700 vascular plant species, just like this one. Very beautiful endemic species and endangered species of flower named after our island, the Linia Sibuyanensis. And this one is a pitcher plant. And the name of that plant, of the pitcher plant, carnivorous plant, was named after our island too. It's called Nepenthes Sibuyanensis. We have 131 avian species, birds roaming around. This one is Leucurus philippinensis bornsey. A parrot, or shall we say, an endemic, very colorful species, a Brahminic kite, kingfishers, and almost every year there are species of flora and fauna being discovered and named. This one is a stick insect, named after one of the towns, municipalities of the island. We have 3 municipalities, and this one is Magdiwang, Farnasia Magdiwang. Another shrew named after the father of the late president of the Philippines, Crucidura Ninoy. And remember this flower? I posted this on social media, and one biologist answered, oh, that's the Linia Sibuyanensis, and his name is Leonard Ko, a biologist. He has been a very popular, credible conservationist in the Philippines. And he said, oh, I wanted to go to your island. And I told him, okay, let's go. But after how many months, he was shot to death by the military while doing a research in one of the islands in the Philippines. But you know what? He went to our island as a gecko, because this gecko was named after him. This gecko was discovered in our island. 2012, a hawk, owl, and this one, another pitcher plant named after one of my colleagues, the president of the parish council of the lady, who was shot to death because of our advocacy against mining. This species was named after him, Nepenthes armin. His name is Armin Rios Marin. This one is a tree, is a skink, is Lipinia volcania. This one is another Pseudogecko isa pa, semi-gecko, but it's not really a gecko. And this one is an ant, a new ant species discovered in our island. And there's another one, an insect. And I was surprised as well because many people who are martyred or were shot to death their names are in the species. But an Italian researcher named a crustacean after me, Stamaricaris gallicae. Now I'm afraid. Please pray for me that I will not be killed or shot to death. This is the forest that we saved in 2023 after a barricade against mining. More than 1 million trees. This one. Our island, we have indigenous peoples called Sibuyan Mangyan Tagabukid, the guardians of our forest. And I was reminded when we were in our advocacy against mining about Laudato Si. And we have Laudato Si goals. So those who cannot read Laudato Si in its entirety, we have Laudato Si goals, no? Sustainable development goals, but we have Laudato Si. But let me focus on the 3 goals. First is the response to the cry of the earth. Our island, this beautiful island, we're surrounded by mining applications. Mining applications. And the red ones are the approved mining application. And we opposed this one. And in 2023, early 2023 January, we were surprised that a mining company has already exploited the island without any permit at all to exploit it and to cut the trees. And eventually, a large barge arrived, and they were allowed to get 50,000 metric tons of nickel ore to be shipped to China. We were not informed. We're surprised. And we knew that the church is with us. The communities are with us. The church stood up. Different faith communities. We have Romblon Ecumenical Forum Against Mining. We started the barricade 3 years ago, and our bishop showed up. And altercation happened. I'll share with you later what happened that day 3 years ago. And we all know that both everyday experience and scientific research show that the gravest effect of all attacks on the environment are suffered by the poorest. We go to the next Laudato Si go response to the cry of the earth. How can we listen? How can we respond? How can we respond? And the Philippine church responded. On July 2019, another statement, pastoral letter, was issued. And in January 2022, a statement, strong statement, was again released by the Philippine bishops. But cry of the earth, cry of the poor. In my experience in communities all over the country, I've been to almost all mining areas in the Philippines. I've been asking, who are the poor? Perhaps they are the compromised. They're the people who lack or no access to whatever information lacks. Those who lack, or those who have no capacity, those who lack, or those who have no ability to stand up, or those who lack, have no voice, and those who are vulnerable. But not only humans, the earth, flora, and fauna. We are reminded by Proverbs 22:16. Poor in spirit, and we now go into what we call finances, economy. They exploit because they want to get more profit. I remember in 2024, Pope Francis gave honor to 9 Filipinos, and more than half of them are presidents and chairpersons of those companies which exploit Philippine forests and Philippine seas. Those who pollute the earth. We were wondering, but I think there's a kind of message for that honor. And not all rich people are bad. This one, Regina Paz Lopez, showed up and stood up for the people. She was the secretary minister of the environment for just how many months, and she was not confirmed by the commission and appointments, but she stood up He said, who suffers if we kill the environment? It is the poor. And whose duty is it to protect the people? It's the environment. And I think calls for a new dialogue, because Laudato Si calls for a new dialogue that involves all. And perhaps the word is synodality, because the enforcement of laws is at times inadequate due to corruption, public pressure. The power of the people has to be exerted in order to bring about change, decisive political action. And Laudato Si, Pope Francis, of course, enumerated all these sectors. Society, non-governmental organizations must put pressure on governments to develop more strict regulations, procedures, and control. The Philippine bishops, the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines, gathered different sectors, and thus the formation of Laudato Si convergence. Because unless citizens control political power, it will not be possible to control damage to the environment. In 2006, in my beautiful island, 8,000 people gathered, led by the church, led by the priests and the nuns, to express opposition to mining. After 1 year, my colleague, Armin Rios Marin, president of the Parish Council of the Lady, was shot to death during a picket against mining. But later on, in 2023, as I have said, we stood up from this little humble tent, and we saw the flag of the church up there. And with this experience, we saw how the power of the people opposing mining stopped the activity. And that person who was wearing white, because of his courage, is now the mayor of our town. 2023, the Diocese of Romblon. And after that, the operation was suspended by the government. And right now, from that very humble tent, that tent is now a Catholic chapel where people gather to reflect on how we protect the environment. The Diocese of Bayumbong this January, it happened again. And look at the bamboo and the people barricaded. And we see the cry of the earth is the cry of the poor. But not only the Diocese of Bayumbong, the Diocese of Borongan, right now, there are barricades. And many dioceses are supporting these barricades. And what's happening to our common home? I think we need to listen to the cry of the earth as we listen to the cry of the poor. And this is the reality. And Pope Leo would ask us, what will be our answer? If God will ask us if we have cultivated and cared for the world that he created for the benefit of all and for future generations, and if we have taken care of our brothers and sisters. But I think there is hope. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, Rodney, for this really moving presentation that brings to our homes real stories and recent stories of what is happening to our common home in these recent times.